What's important to me as I walk a beach like this is to think about how I want this beach to be for my kids and my grandchildren. Because this is an area that should really feel the same way it does today for them in the future. I think throughout the U.S. and really throughout the world, we are all dealing with the need to manage our oceans more effectively than we have in the past. In many ways that's coming from the expansion of our human population and the need just to look at where are there resources that really can help us and be effective in maintaining our quality of life. And really what this is about zoning. We've been zoning the land for basically centuries in many ways. And we zone it for color, we zone it for height of buildings, we zone it for the nature of uses in small communities and big cities. And we debate those issues in our town councils and in our legislatures. That's what's beginning to happen now for the ocean. We're in a rush, and sometimes in that rush to do so, we lose sight of what's been so effective in local governance on these issues. So we need to bring the local government, we need to bring each of our citizens into the discussion about how should we zone, how should we use our ocean resources. And it's complicated because out here, this feels like part of Cape Cod. And in every way it is. It feels like part of the Cape and Islands. That's the way we talk about it. But you move 3 miles offshore and you have a unique spot in Nantucket Sound. You have basically a hole in the middle of the water of Nantucket Sound that is federal waters. And therefore, who's in charge? Well, the federal government. The U.S. government is in charge of those waters. But for years, we've talked about those waters and we've thought of them as Nantucket Sound. The fish don't know when they move from 3 miles to 2.9 miles. They don't have passports. They don't pass through any kind of a barrier. So as these fish are moving back and forth, or as we as boaters move back and forth, as we as fishermen move back and forth, we don't know whether we're in federal waters or state waters. We treat this as Nantucket Sound. We've been treating it as Nantucket Sound for all the years when it was designated as a state marine sanctuary starting in the 70s. We've been treating it as a state marine sanctuary throughout the 80s when it was all nominated as a national marine sanctuary. Today we're wrestling with an issue of how do we decide what part of it, that central part, will be used for development. And now we're beginning on a state level to say, how should the 3 mile area be used for development as well? How will we really solve these problems? And one project, one Cape Wind, 130 towers out here, if it's expanded, 260 wind turbines, that would change the face of this completely. In August of 2005, the Interior Department was charged by Congress with setting up regulations to begin to figure out how we should do this for alternative energy and wind energy particularly. And over the course of 2006 and into 2007, these regulations will become concrete. And the most important thing today is that we participate in this process with the Department of Interior, with the U.S. government, and with our local governments. We as citizens have a responsibility to participate in the decisions for our local areas and for our state areas and our national areas. Today we have that opportunity with the regulations in the Department of Interior, and we will have that opportunity in state and local politics as well. This is an area that has been established as an essential fish habitat, not only for the fish that are here, but it's the area where the cold waters from the Gulf of Maine mix with the warm waters of the Gulf Stream, providing a very rich and important ecosystem. And that's an ecosystem that we want to be very careful in interfering with. What happens when you install these kinds of industrial turbines is that you change the nature of the currents that move through the area, because you'll create eddies and you'll create different impediments to the natural flow of the current. What we need as a nation with respect to policy is a national energy policy. If we're talking about fossil fuels, it starts with the transportation industry. That's where we use the fossil fuel in certainly our imported fuel in the largest numbers of gallons, barrels, and thousands of barrels. We need to change the way we think about transportation. We also need to think about the way we use our resources. And conservation today can make more of an impact than Cape Wind can make in any way. It requires a change of lifestyle, not significant. A few light bulbs, a few compact fluorescent light bulbs in every home changes the amount of coal we will use significantly. I think what we've all learned is that our ocean resources are threatened. Our ocean resources are at risk today, and they're not at risk in little ways. They're at risk from all of our activity. We as humans have in many ways changed the balance of nature, and we have taken ourselves a little bit out of nature, and therefore we have a responsibility to try to bring that back into balance in ways that, yes, it can serve us, but not serve us at the cost of changing it to a point where we cannot bring it back.